Welcome to Worldview on Spectrum TV. I am Emedion James. Our top stories today. In the United States, 4 people are confirmed dead after a shooting and arson attack at a Michigan church. In Washington, Donald Trump meets Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to push a Gaza peace proposal. Across the Asian Pacific region, Vietnam braces for Typhoon Boileau with mass evacuation underway. These are the latest global headlines. Many thanks for joining us. Our first story on Worldview today is that police say at least 4 people have been killed and 8 others injured after a gunman drove a vehicle into a Michigan church, opened fire and set the building ablaze. Officials said the attack on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, a town 60 miles, that is 100 kilometers northwest of Detroit, happened during a Sunday service attended by hundreds of people. The suspect, identified as Thomas Jacob, age 40, from Bratton, Michigan, was later shot dead by police in a church car park. Authorities are investigating the incident as an act of targeted violence, but say the motive remains unclear. 2 victims died from gunshot wounds, Grand Blanc Township Police Chief William Brand told a news conference. He also later said 2 more people have been found dead and some others remain unaccounted for, though he could not say how many. He also added that the church was still being cleared on Sunday night after suffering extensive fire damage. Chief Wren also praised the heroism of churchgoers who he said had sheltered children in the church during the incidents. Still in America, Donald Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today, with the U.S. president pushing a Gaza peace proposal after a slew of Western leaders embraced Palestinian statehood in defiance of America and Israeli opposition. In Netanyahu's 4th visit since Trump returned to office in January, the right-wing Israeli leader will be looking to shore up his country's most important relationship as it faces growing international isolations nearly 2 years into its war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. He also said he can welcome compared to the chilly reception he received when he spoke on Friday before the UN General Assembly, where many delegates walked out in protest. Netanyahu went on to deliver a blistering attack on what he called a disgraceful decision over the past week by Britain, France, Canada, Australia and several other countries to recognize Palestinian statehood. This, according to him, is a major diplomatic shift by top U.S. allies. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said that he ordered 200 Oregon National Guard troops to be deployed under federal authority while the state filed a lawsuit challenging President Donald Trump's move to send military forces into the Democratic-run city of Portland. The Republican president on Saturday announced plans that would be used to protect federal immigration facilities against domestic terrorists, and that he was authorizing them to use full force if necessary. Trump's deployment of military forces into other municipalities led by Democrats, including Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., have spurred legal challenges and protests. Oregon suit was filed against Trump, Hegseth, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in federal court in Portland on Sunday by Democratic Oregon Attorney General Dan Raphael. The suit accused Trump of exceeding his power. Away from that, the United Nations has reinstated an armed embargo and other sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program following a process triggered by European powers that Tehran has warned will be met with a harsh response. Britain, France, and Germany initiated the return of sanctions on Iran at the UN Security Council over accusation it had violated a 2015 deal that aimed to stop its developing a nuclear bomb. Iran, however, denies seeking nuclear weapons. The end of the decade-long nuclear deal originally agreed by Iran, Britain, Germany, France, the United States, Russia, and China is likely to exacerbate tensions in the Middle East just months after Israel and US bombed Iranian nuclear site. Meanwhile, UN sanctions imposed by the Security Council in resolution adopted between 2006 and 2010 were reinstated at 8 p.m. on Saturday, GMT on Sunday. Attempt to delay the return of all sanctions on Iran failed on the sidelines of the annual gathering of world leaders at the UN this week. Let's move now to the Asians. This is days after causing at least 10 deaths and widespread flooding in the Philippines. The typhoon was generating winds of up to 133 kilometers as of Vietnam, around 100 today, slowing as it nears the coast. The National Weather Forecast Agency said with strong intensity and a broad area of impact. They also added that it is capable of triggering multiple natural disasters simultaneously, including powerful winds, heavy rainfalls, flooding, flash floods, landslides, and coastal inclination. Meanwhile, northern and central rising by 9 meters and risks of flooding and his ambitious plan to provide free meals for children after some 6,000 cases of food poisoning, saying the percentage of those affected was small and the program was still finding its footing. The food poisonings have sparked a public outcry with TV channels broadcasting images of children being treated on hospital beds. Local non-profit organizations have called for the suspension of the program. The multi-billion-dollar initiative, which also offers free meals for pregnant women, have rapidly expanded since it launched in January, with around 30 million recipients to date. Prabowo said in a speech at the political party event that it aims to reach 83 million by the year's end, adding that there were shortcomings and food poisoning, but they counted all the meals served. The deviation, the deficiency or error represent 0.00017%. After a cabinet meeting over the weekend to discuss ways to prevent food poisoning, Prabowo ordered each kitchen in the program to be given rapid testing equipment to check food quality, a food tray sterilizer, a water filter and CCTV connected to the central government for monitoring. Meanwhile, National Nutrition Agency said last week that of the 9,000 kitchens in the program, 40 had been closed for not meeting standards. Let's take a quick break right now. When we return, the spotlight will be on European nations. Do stay tuned to us for these and many more right after the breather. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is Worldview on Spectrum TV. Let's turn the spotlight to the European region where Moldova's pro-European Union ruling party won a resounding victory, Russian leading rival in a key parliamentary election. Results showed today an endorsement of Moldova's bid to join the bloc and break free from Moscow orbit. The strong performance on Sunday by President Maya Sandu's Party of Action and Solidarity against the Patriotic Bloc will be a relief for the government and its European partners who had accused Moscow of seeking to influence the outcome. Polls leading up to the election put PAS and Patriotic Bloc neck and neck, with neither likely to get close to a majority, allows the government to push for its goal of EU membership by 2030. In Russia, launched hundreds of drones and missiles at Kiev and other parts of Ukraine early on Sunday, killing at least 4 people, and a full-scale war began. Neighboring Poland closed its airspace near 2 southern eastern cities, and its Air Force scrambled jet in response until the danger had passed. Ukraine's military said that Russia launched 595 drones and 48 missiles overnight, and its air defenses shot down 568 drones and 43 missiles. It also noted that the main target of the strike was the capital, Kiev. President Vladimir Zelensky said the attack, which lasted more than 12 hours, killed 4 people, including a child, with 2 of the deaths occurring at a Kiev cardiology clinic. He said 80 people were injured in the strikes, and factories, residential buildings and energy generating sites were also damaged. Also, the United States is considering Ukraine's request to obtain long-range missiles for its effort to push back against Russia. Vice President J.D. Vance said this on Sunday. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has asked the United States to sell Tomahawks to European nations that would then send them to Ukraine. Vance also said in a televised interview that U.S. President Donald Trump will make the final determination range of 50 miles, putting Moscow in the range of Ukraine's arsenal, where Kiev to be granted them. Russia would almost certainly view such a move as an escalation in its war in Ukraine. Trump, however, has denied Ukraine's request for the use of long-range missiles in the past, but has grown frustrated at in the meantime the bomb shelters were, saying that Ukraine was losing the war and that its negotiating position was worsening. Zelensky suggested to newsmen that the centers of Russian power like the Kremlin were potential targets, saying that Kremlin officials have to know where the bomb shelters are. In a separate development, NATO said today it is upgrading its mission in the Baltic Sea with an air defense frigate and other assets in response to drones incursions in Denmark. Unidentified drones were observed near military installations in Denmark overnight, the armed forces said on Saturday, following several drone incursions near airport and critical infrastructure this week. Copenhagen Airport, the Nordic region's busiest, closed for several hours late today as several large drones were seen in its airspace. 5 smaller Danish airports, both civilian and military, were also shut temporarily in the following days. And in Spain, Spain's devastating summer wildfires have intensified calls for urgent reforms in forest management, as experts warn that hotter, drier conditions will continue to fuel destructions unless prevention strategies are prioritized. Residents in Galicia recall traditional methods such as burning undergrowth during winter to create natural fire breaks. Southern Galicia became the epicenter of Spain's worst fire seasons in 3 decades. During August record heat waves, wildfire killed 4 people, ravaged towns and scorched 330,000 hectares of land, twice the size of London. Just weeks ago, another blast destroyed 19,000 hectares around Ferdinand's Paris hamlet. Forestry experts say underfunding prevention efforts over the past 20 years made fires far harder to contain. They also warned that Central and Northern Europe could face similar crises within decades. In the UK, migrants will have to prove they are contributing to society to earn the right to remain in the UK. The Home Secretary is set to announce this. In a Labour conference speech, Shabana Mahmood will outline a series of new conditions migrants have to meet to qualify for indefinite leave to remain. Under the proposals, legal migrants will have to learn English to a high standard, have a clean criminal record, and volunteer in the community to be granted permanent settlement status. Labour says the policy draws a clear dividing line between the government and Reform UK, which says it would abolish indefinite leave to remain after 5 years, giving them the right to live, study and work in the UK permanently. Labour doubled the period it takes to gain the status from 5 years to 10, and also a consultation was announced in May as part of a package of plan to cut immigration. Lastly on World View today, China has officially opened the world's highest bridge in the world to the public. The Heungjeong Grand Canyon Bridge towers 625 meters above a gorge in the country's Guizhou province. Officials say it cuts travel time between the canyon's 2 sides from 2 hours to 2 minutes. Earlier this year in August, a testing team drove 96 trucks onto designated points to test the bridge's structural integrity. The bridge has now set the record for both the world's highest bridge and largest span bridge built in the mountainous area. And that brings us to the end of World View on Spectrum TV. From America to Asia.